Welcome to the Life Society podcast, where ordinary is canceled and playing it safe is not on the menu. Life is calling. Are you answering? I'm your host, Levi Cully, and we're diving headfirst into the stories of trailblazers, risk takers, and go-getters who've mastered the art of living life loud, proud, and totally alive. This is your wake-up call, my friend. We're here to shake you out of the mundane, pull you out of autopilot, and ignite the fire in your soul to become the main character in your story. Because life is too short to sit on the sidelines. It's time to own your passion, chase your purpose, and reclaim your aliveness. Get ready to laugh, cry, and feel all the feels as we uncover the secrets to fearless living. This is more than a podcast, it's a movement. The Alive Society is your tribe, and together, we're creating lives that feel like an epic adventure. So buckle up, hit play, and let's get alive. Welcome to the Alive Society podcast, and let's make this life unforgettable. I've got a guest today that I'm going to let him introduce himself because he's got an incredible story. But I just invited him today because we met last week, and the experience of meeting Trey was like incredible to say the least, and I just instantly knew this dude's got to be on my podcast, and also we just got to spend more time together.
Heck yeah.
So Trey I'm a realtor at Remax Peaks in Logan, and Trey is also a future realtor, almost done with the test, and so that's how we met. We met at a brokerage party. But people always call me Trey accidentally, and I never know why. But it's because we both have curly hair, and that's an honor to be mistakenly called Trey. So, Trey, tell us about yourself, like who you are, what you do, where you're at in life, and what keeps you alive.
Well, I consider myself a very fun, creative, empathetic man. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. Not at heart, I guess, in general. Ever since I was little, I would make lots of different decisions based on what I want to do and how I want to spend my time. So like, I would sell things. I was doing all kinds of different things. And then I unexpectedly, when I turned 10, I got cancer. And so that's kind of why we connected so well, is because of my past. And
So tell us first, what I love asking this question, but what kind of entrepreneurial things got you started as a youth?
So I actually started like with lemonade stands, just regular lemonade stands.
Cool.
But then that eventually transitioned into paracord bracelets. So I would make paracord bracelets in the hospital, and I would sell them to all the nurses. I'd make hundreds of dollars for a little kid. It was amazing. They all bought my little paracord bracelets, and ever since then I love selling stuff, and so it's kind of why I'm going into real estate today.
Cool. And tell us about cancer. First of all, praise God that you're here. You defied the odds. I just want to hear all about it. What was your diagnosis, and what was that like?
Yeah, so I was only 10 years old. I was in elementary school. Yeah. And one day I started getting these terrible like sickness and headaches and fever.
Yeah.
And the doctors couldn't figure it out. They tested me, they did all kinds of things. We did blood work, and then finally one of the doctors found out that I had some abnormalities in my white blood cell counts, which is basically you have three different blood cells. You have your red blood cells, your white blood cells, and then your platelets. And so the difference between those is your white blood cells are like the things that take care of disease. They fight off infections and stuff. And then your platelets are the things that restore the skin. So like if you didn't have platelets, you just bleed out.
Oh.
And then red blood cells are like the oxygen carriers. They do all that thing. So my problem was my white blood cells, they weren't working right. And so basically my white blood cells didn't recognize disease, and one of them started mutating and destroying my body. So it was like getting me really sick. So they told my family that we had to drive to Primary Children's that night after like months of testing. I was just sick. They thought I had so many different things. And then I was diagnosed with AML leukemia, which was blood cancer. And so, and then that was like the first time I ever saw my dad cry, and it was a hard time for the family.
Like as a 10-year-old, just like things we see like and understand are different as a 10-year-old. You're obviously very mature for your age.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I'm curious how, and maybe this is why, maybe cancer kind of pulled you into that.
Yeah.
Because you had to have big boy conversations about life.
Definitely. Yeah. Like
but tell us about that.
Yeah, no, it was a challenge. Like when you go and you get told all these different things that you had no idea what they even were. I didn't even know what cancer was. And then you get told that you have a less likelihood of having kids, and then you have a less likelihood you might get skin cancer, all these side effects that could come with the treatment that they're doing. Yeah. And so I'm like, you know, as you're getting told this as a 10-year-old, you're like, well, what's going to happen to me? Like, am I going to live? Am I going to die? But the most surprising thing that I've noticed is that I had faith that was unbelievable at 10 years old. Yeah. I don't think that medicine cured me 100%. It was 100% faith. There's no doubt in my mind it was faith. Because I didn't really care about what each medicine was doing. I would just sit there and pray all the time when I was 10. And I'm still trying to work my way back up to that faith level. Yeah. And it is hard, though, because you do have to grow up fast. And I grew up so fast. Like, I understand so much about myself and the human body just because I went through those things.
Right. Dude, that's incredible. Like, I'm sorry, but like, thank you for going through that for the rest of us, because now you're sitting here today giving life a new perspective.
Yeah.
Like,
and I know your brother went through cancer.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and that's what pushed me into this mindset that life is short.
Yes,
and that every single day is essentially could be our last, and it must be lived that way. Like, and so, yeah, Riley 4 years ago passed away, and I was around missionary age, so like 19. And just like being around someone constantly that's like fighting for their life, but not in so much like as a fight, like a physical fight. It's a mental fight.
Definitely.
And I mean, I haven't seen as much as you, and my perspective is small, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like what you said about faith curing you and healing you, I absolutely saw that. Like, there's people that are reliant on medicine, and there's people that are reliant on God.
Yeah.
Or just like the universe.
Yeah.
Saying that like, this is going to work out no matter what, and I'm good. Mm-hmm. And
I like what you said about reliant. Like, you see so many people nowadays where they need a medication, not necessarily just prescription, but medication and self-help, this, that, whatever. And I think there's just so much confusion in the world today. And it's crazy because that's like the reason why I live. Like, I want to live life to the fullest because I see so many people that are choosing not to live. And I've been through times when I could have chose to just die if I wanted to. Yeah. But I know God has like a purpose for me. And that's why I am where I am today, and I'm doing the things that I do, is because I want the best for other people too. Yeah. I constantly want to inspire others to become their best selves by recognizing that they have certain things that they're relying on, or they do out of habit, or from there's all kinds of different psychology things that you can go down rabbit holes on. But I think living life to the fullest is just so important, because you want to grow as much as you can, and there's going to be hardships, but you got to live life to the fullest.
Yeah. That's amazing. So like, from your perspective, having looked at life as such a short and as such an opportunity and like a blessing to wake up another day.
Yeah.
What does living life to the fullest look like day to day?
Dude, that's a good question. For me, like, living life to the fullest is just trying your best. I think that people get caught up in what they're supposed to do, what they should do, what they want to do, and that's all up here. All of those thoughts, all of those things of living life to the fullest sometimes gets too caught up in our heads when really it should be caught up in our hearts.
Right.
Because it's the energy that we project that gets us into positions and determines our future. And so why not just live life projecting that energy and having fun and also doing hard things and being rewarded by that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many addictions nowadays too.
Right.
Like, it's funner, well, I wouldn't say funner, I guess it'd be a better way to look at life as, let me do this hard thing and then gain something out of it, than I'm going to go through this hard time and gain pleasure out of it and then end up in a rabbit hole of like, you know, going through cycles of depression and whatever.
Right. I just finished a book called Unf Yourself or Unf Your Life by this amazing author.
Yeah.
It's like amazing book. It doesn't say the F word almost, I mean, maybe twice in the whole book. And it's really amazing book. The title kind of threw me off.
I love that.
But it talked about that. It talked about making a decision to do something harder just because it is the harder option.
That's cool.
Sometimes right or wrong is not the right question that we're asking. And so this perspective blows my mind, and I'm still chewing on it, trying to decide how I feel about it. But the harder option always produces more for us. So you could almost, like, when you're trying to make a decision, which option is harder, and lean into it. Maybe don't be so quick to choose the easier option. And I know that's a crazy way of thinking, but like, I just last fall did 100 days of ice baths consecutively.
Oh, cool.
And super hard. Like,
I bet, yeah.
Like the decision to get in freezing cold water every single day for 100 days is very difficult. Like, a lot of people barely do it ever. I know that you've done a few, but you've gotten into that. But like, dude, that is super cool. And what a crazy perspective to be born out of a 10-year-old's mind versus somebody who's 50 losing their life to boredom and like becoming a dead CPU in life, and then deciding, okay, maybe I should do something hard. I'll just train for a marathon maybe at 50 and spend the rest of my life trying to catch up.
Yeah.
But starting at 10 years old saying, I'm not going to wither away my aliveness and my heart and my energy just because society says I have to.
Yeah.
But saying I choose the harder path. That's incredible.
So what would the world look like if we all just chose hard all the time? That's the real question.
That's an amazing point. Right. What if comfort wasn't the first priority?
What if it was hard every single time?
What if we paid money, because money buys comfort. I've just come to that conclusion. This is why we make money, is for comfort.
Yeah.
Like psychologically.
Yeah, it is.
But what if we paid money for discomfort? What if we started going, like you and I step into that. Like we're the type that does that already.
Yes,
but what if the world like leaned into discomfort?
It would be.
What do you think?
I don't know. Like I think the world would. I think the world would progress a lot more. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think everyone has different issues, and they see the world at a different perspective all the time. I mean, I see the world differently than you see the world, but we have the similar stories that kind of unite us together. And I think if people were to choose the hard, they would be more united. I think everyone would be more united, because the people that choose comfort go to people who choose comfort. And so they don't ever really get pushed out of their comfort zone. So like, it's hard to stay in your comfort zone. I heard this is a quote. Like, the comfort zone is hard, and like, you got to choose your hard. Yeah. So like, if you live in your comfort zone, it's going to be hard. But if you go and do something hard, it's also going to be hard. And so, I don't know. That's kind of interesting though. Like if my family, if every one of those guys faced the hard, it would be their biggest problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's self-development, choosing hard, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I love, like, choose to be fit or choose to be fat. Choose your hard. Poor or rich, choose your hard.
Yeah.
Healthy relationship versus unhealthy relationship, choose your hard. They're both hard. And the beautiful thing about pain is everybody's pain is the same and experienced on the same level, because pain tolerance gets one person more tolerant to pain than the other, but their like levels of pain, they've all experienced the same pain. But it's harder to like compare, like, okay, you've been through cancer as a child.
Yeah.
I haven't, but my hard feels just as hard as your hard
Absolutely.
might, because you've been more tolerant to pain. Mm-hmm. So that brings me into another question. Do you think, so we're both Christian. Mm-hmm. God, I think all good comes from God and all bad comes from Satan.
I do too. Yeah.
But do you think God allows some bad to happen in our lives just so that our pain tolerance can go up and that we can appreciate more in life and have a happier life? Or do you think it's Satan always pushing negativity and bad things on us, and it's God's plan that we would just be like floating, free floating, easy and comfortable life?
Well,
does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we were all born a light. And throughout our life, people and things happen, and they happen to us for a reason. I think that when we were pre-designed to be here on earth, I think we chose to go through those things. I think that we chose to choose those things because we knew it would grow us. I think, say for instance, you wanted to learn to be more patient.
Yeah.
Well, you need somebody to teach you how to be patient.
Yeah.
So you chose to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think God necessarily was like, you're going to do this, you can learn it. I think we actually chose it as like a gift.
Interesting.
So if you think of life as like all the trials are a gift, then you realize that everything negative that happens and you choose to do the hard becomes a positive. So if you choose to have, like, if you want more patience, right? We'll go back to that example.
Yeah.
Somebody comes along and tests your patience, then you start to gain more patience. And it's hard because you have to deal with that person. You have to confront them. You have to learn from them. But then you also get the gift of being more patient.
Right.
Or say you want to be more, like, if you want to be strong, you got to be weak. There's got to be a period in your life where you are weak. You are skinny, frail, and vulnerable in order to become a strong person and know it in their heart. If you were born strong and you had a big bone body your whole life, you wouldn't know what strong truly is because you didn't earn it.
Yeah.
You just had it. So it's not necessarily a gift. I think that any gift that you want, it has to be earned. That's why choosing the hard is the hardest thing.
Yeah. Interesting. That's so interesting. I just love that mindset. Like, it just makes my mind wander. You know, I'm listening to Matthew McConaughey's book right now, and he has this line that he says that most people turn up the AC at the gym so they don't sweat. I wear my beanie in July so I do.
Dang. That's
And it just like, what if we lived like that? Like, what if comfort wasn't the ideal? Like, and I think to get to that point, to get to the point where growth is number one and we're willing to sacrifice our comfort and momentarily happiness to grow, we have to have seen the darkness of what's on the other end of, what if I don't grow? Like, what if this holds me back for the rest of my life? Mm-hmm. So I have a question for you, and I've been dying to ask you this. But what was the turning point for you that opened your eyes to see that life is short and that you will not waste it? Like give me a couple moments where you were just like, you just look at somebody and you're like, I see the world differently than you. And what triggered that for you? I mean, I'm assuming that it could be childhood cancer, you know, maybe, and you're like thinking about like, what am I going to spend the rest of my life doing? But I just want to hear your answer to that.
Yeah, so I actually had leukemia twice. So I relapsed when I was 12. The first time was eye-opening, and then the second time when I was in remission. I realized that, like, you know, when you relapse, you're like, well, it could happen a third time, right?
Yeah.
It could happen a fourth time. And so in that moment, I was actually drinking some water in Salt Lake. And I remember tasting it, and it was so nasty. It was the most nasty water I've ever tasted, but it was purified like crazy.
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment that sometimes it's not the cleanest water that you want. Sometimes it's that familiar, nice water that you get from being home.
Yeah.
And I think being home for me was choosing those hard things, was going through cancer so that I could live life. And then I noticed that as soon as I got done, I noticed that people, everyone around me, everyone was taking everything for granted. And it was driving me nuts because I was like, dude, like, you're complaining right now? Like, I can't believe I'm alive. Like, I was in such a shocked state that year after that I just chose to just do the hard things and just live life and have fun and live it to the fullest. Because there is no point in wasting your life away.
Right.
There's no point. Because God saved me for a reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is yet, but I know that I'm here to like change lives and do amazing things. And it was really an eye-opening experience. And there's been many others like that, but the pivot was that year after. Because as a 13-year-old going through those things and seeing your friends complaining about being at school, I was like, I am so grateful that I'm at school today.
Yeah.
Getting to talk with friends instead of peeing blue, chemo.
Yeah. That is incredible. So you would go to school and look around and be like, I can't hear this person complain about being here right now because I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah. I would go home and like,
that's crazy.
I would like talk to my mom. I'd be like, Mom, these people don't even understand life. They don't know how to live. They're not having fun. They're not choosing fun. They're just wasting their life away.
Right.
And so I chose from then on just to make the most out of everything.
Yeah. Don't sweat the small stuff.
No.
Oh man, that's beautiful. I love that. Like crowning jewel of this episode right there, I think, was just hearing that. That's cool. Because I think everybody has their moment where they see, when their eyes are opened to like seeing and appreciating life.
And you know what's cool is you see other people see that moment too.
Yeah.
Ever since I went through that awful time, I see people go through their hardest times and I smile knowing that what's on the other side for them.
Right.
Because my best friend, he's an amazing guy. I have had some amazing friends. But it wasn't until they went through something really, really hard that they started to appreciate what they had.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. It's so cool to see people do that. And I think that's why I love self-help stuff and all those things, is because I love seeing people hit their hardest time in their life, because I know exactly what's on the other side if they choose to accept it.
Right. Right. And the interesting thing is, Trey, I think, in my own opinion, and what you proved to be true, is that yes, everyone does have their lowest moment. Everyone hits that moment where it's like, I don't know if I can do this. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you get there, and we've all been there, what's the next thing that happens? Do I sit in why me, or do I sit in I'm going to improve on this and take this and improve the rest of my life because I've been through this?
Like, that's a great question.
Like when you sit and ponder if you want to exist any longer, like I'm sure, like, I mean, you made decision after decision after decision as a 10 and 12-year-old to stay alive. And the thing that happens after that is like, how am I going to live the rest of my life? Am I going to forget this happened and just go back to robotic life? Or am I going to like remember for the rest of my life that I'm not going to take a single thing for granted? I'm going to tell everyone that I love them before I leave their presence. And like, am I going to spend time like it's the most valuable resource on earth?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I would say people need to know that they have value.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people beat themselves up because they make these mistakes, they do these things. And really, everyone has value still. You still have value even though you make a mistake. And part of that is kind of going through your own journey and finding out who you are.
Yeah.
And when you find out who you are, you have purpose. You know exactly where you're going. You know what you want to do. You know who you want to help. And sometimes it changes. It changes over time, 100%. But if people know how much they're valued, I think that's what I had when I was 10, is I knew that I had value.
Yeah.
I knew that I had value. And so you can use those hard times, those struggles that you're going through, and use them as a light like Christ would, looking outward, pointing your arrows outward. The more arrows you have outward, the more rays of sun you have. Like I said, you're born a light.
Yeah.
And those hard times just make more rays because you can connect with more people and share those experiences, and you just feel the Spirit. And it's been an amazing time in my life when I got to serve my mission, because I got to do that a lot.
Yeah.
I got to do a lot of hard things. There was a lot of hard things, but those things I got to share with other people and change their life forever.
Yeah.
It's my favorite part of living, is changing lives.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love that. Thank you for being vulnerable. I think this episode also shows that vulnerability is the pathway to connection and to staying alive.
Definitely.
I think when I close my heart and put up walls, that's probably when I lose my connection and I start to kind of fall into my smaller story and lose touch of my aliveness. And so that's amazing that you're able to just stay vulnerable, stay in a place of vulnerability. Because it takes, like you said, you have to know that you have value in order to be vulnerable. And in order to be vulnerable, you have to know that you have value. Because imagine being vulnerable, putting your heart out on the table, handing it to someone else, and not having a secure sense of self. And being okay with yourself and confident. Like, it is so hard to be vulnerable when I hate myself. But when I love myself and I'm like, I don't give a crap what anyone else thinks, I'm shameless about my past, the mistakes I've made, and the things that are dear to my heart. Like, so important. So on that note, Trey, how do you love yourself? How do you remember your worth? How do you maintain that like self-worth for yourself, I guess?
I would say the one thing that I would recommend anyone is, because I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm 100% not perfect. But if every single day you just choose to do something that's hard or good, that motivates you, that helps you know, like everyone knows the next step they need to take, whether it's good, bad, or hard, whatever it might be. It might be something that you have to take time and ponder about for hours, or it might be something that you just need to go talk to somebody about. But as soon as you just take that first step, and then every day moving forward, choosing to do the hard thing that's going to make you grow.
Oh yeah.
And then that's when you find like so much worth, because every day you're compounding it. It could be small, it can be big, but every single day you choose to do something hard out of your comfort zone, or some days you're not even feeling like doing something, then do something, and then you can show something for it.
Yeah.
That's when you find self-worth. There's a lot of things you could say that you could do to find self-worth, and I think they're all good. But I think that it's just doing something. When people choose to do nothing to find self-worth, they're not going to find self-worth.
Yeah, just make it a priority.
Just make it a priority.
I love you did sneak a word in there, do something hard every day. And that proves what we were talking about earlier. If you're doing something hard, you are growing yourself, and you're choosing you over over comfort.
Yes.
And your growth over comfort. Proving to yourself subconsciously
that you are worth it.
That I'm worth going to the
You're
gym.
worth it, yes.
I'm worth eating this banana over this cupcake.
Yes.
That's amazing. So if going to the gym is easy or natural, that's not enough.
Not enough. Nope.
You have to choose something that's hard, that's you over, like making your bed someday. Making my bed most days is hard.
Yeah.
And I do it for me because when I go home, like when I go to bed and it's
nice. Yeah, it's nice to open that.
It's like a little present. And I'm like, this is amazing. I'm so grateful for myself. I love myself. I did this for me. This is a gift for later me. Interesting.
So something for you, I know you say that you like to go to the gym, but you don't like to talk to people. So
Nope.
maybe that's the next hard thing you got to do.
Okay. I'll text you next week how many people I talked to at the gym. I've never talked to a soul. Everyone listening, I've never talked to a soul at the gym.
Maybe you'll find some opportunity doing that.
Right. It is so hard for me to talk to people at the gym. Like, so hard.
It was hard for me too. That's why I started doing it.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Boom, roasted, Levi. There you go. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Cool. Well, I want to wrap up, but do you have any last words or final one-liners for everyone listening?
No, just do something hard every day. That's it.
Hard every day.
That's all I have.
So much value in every single damn one of you listening. And you deserve to love yourself. And I'm speaking to myself when I say this. I need to do something hard today to prove to myself subconsciously that I'm worth it, to therefore be vulnerable in life, to connect more, to stay more alive, to stay out of addiction and in connection.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Trey.
Thank you, Levi.
You're a baller. Everybody, thanks for listening. This has been an amazing episode. Find me and Trey on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Trey, where can we find you?
Trey Hustad. Just search Trey Hustad on Facebook or Instagram, and it'll pull up.
Cool. And Trey, how can we support you? What are you up to in life? Any plugs you want to put out there for anybody that needs anything?
I'm an up-and-coming real estate agent, so I'm looking to get some deals going and starting some businesses. So, those will be coming up soon. So I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thanks for blessing the planet with your words. And until next time.
Until next time.